Hey guys, welcome to Crystal Key. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Dan, and we have them, the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, which we also reviewed here on this channel.
Yep, all thanks to AT&T. So we'll be reviewing the AT&T models, which is awesome because we also have DirecTV, which also means unlimited data.
I'm Tinkerbell. But that's for another time, including this. In this video, we're just going to be focusing on the standard Galaxy S7.
Yeah, we took turns using the S7. We used it for about 4 days each, which is good because you guys are going to be able to get two different opinions on this phone. Is it worth buying, or is it worth the upgrade from the S6? Let's find out. Last year, we saw one of the biggest design changes in a Samsung phone with the Galaxy S6. But this year, it seems that we have the smallest design change, but that's not a bad thing at all. For the most part, the S7 is the same size as the S6 thanks to its 5.1-inch screen. In today's world, that's a pretty small phone, which is perfect for somebody with small hands like me. But what makes this phone size even more great is its super small top and bottom bezels.
But we do have capacitive buttons as well as a physical home button instead of on-screen buttons, which does help make the 5.1-inch screen feel maybe a bit bigger than usual. Oh, and the home button has been ever so slightly changed, so it's more rectangular now, and it sits a bit more flush with the body. Most of the noticeable differences though are here on the back. The sides are now kind of curved like the Note 5, which does make it feel a lot better when you're holding. It's a lot less sharp. And also, the phone is slightly thicker and heavier this year, and thanks to that extra thickness, the camera doesn't protrude as much, which makes it look a lot better. So with this extra weight and thickness, you don't even notice it, and what comes out of it is just a bunch of upgrades.
Yeah, and thanks to the extra thickness, Samsung was able to squeeze a larger battery inside the S7 in order to hopefully fix the biggest flaw of the S6. This time around, we have a 3000 mAh battery, which is a very good size, especially for a phone this small. I'm able to get 4.5 hours of screen on time now with the S7, when I could only get about 3 if I was lucky on the S6.
Yep, it's a huge upgrade. I used to be able to get only 2.5 hours of screen on time with pretty heavy usage, but on the S7, I can easily get about 4.
And of course, if you need to charge fast, you can, thanks to Samsung's fast charger, and you can also charge fast wirelessly. Here we have Gorilla Glass 4 on the front and back to help make the phone a little more tough when being dropped, but the phone really shows how tough it is when you throw a little water on it. I mean, a lot of water. Finally, Samsung added IP68 water resistance back to their Galaxy lineup. But this time, there's no need for any of those annoying plastic flaps. The S7 can survive in up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. So theoretically, you could take a bath with this phone, but don't. The water resistance is only there for accidents. You shouldn't try to push it. The speaker is still at the bottom, which makes it very easy to cover up. I still have problems with that from time to time. And thanks to the waterproofing behind the speaker grills, the speaker sounds a bit weaker than last year's, but it's not too bad. Okay, so they added a bigger battery, they brought back water resistance, but it doesn't stop there. Once again, we have our beloved SD card slot. It's back, and it can be accessed at the top, right where you would put your SIM card in. It was a very missed feature, so now you can load tons of movies, songs, and photos onto your phone, up to 200 gigs of storage, which is great for when you're traveling. Also, the home button, of course, doubles as a fingerprint scanner. It's quite fast, not the fastest on a smartphone by any means, but it is fast. It does have trouble once in a while reading your print, usually the first time we found out, but eventually you'll get used to this and find a way to hold the scanner without this happening. While the glass backing does look beautiful, it's pretty slippery, and unfortunately, Samsung didn't fix the fingerprint magnet issue. So we picked up some dbrand skins and slapped them onto the S7 while we used it, giving it a better grip and making it look pretty cool. If you're interested in picking up some dbrand skins for the S7 or another phone, I'll put a link in the description for you.
Now let's talk about that display. For the most part, it's the same display we saw on the Galaxy S6, but still, it's the best looking display you can find on a smartphone. It's Quad HD, and with a relatively smaller screen, that calls for a ton of pixels per inch, and you're not going to see any of them.
Yeah, and on top of that, we have the best type of display technology, Super AMOLED. So pixels are individually lit, which can create some really beautiful looking images. Darker areas will lower in brightness and even shut off sometimes, creating a very immersive experience. Samsung phones tend to oversaturate the colors a little bit, but I really love these crazy vibrant colors, even if they're not the most realistic.
Yeah, and the good thing about this is if you think the vibrancy is too much for you, you can change it to a more basic color profile in settings. And while we're here, there's a lot of cool new display features like always on display. So yeah, you can turn this off if you don't like it, but by default, when you click the power button, your phone screen stays on. or more so part of the screen stays on.
At the moment, you can only choose between a clock, calendar, or an image. I don't think this is too helpful though, but for some people it may be. These clocks and calendars are also customizable, which is nice. The idea of an always-on display is very interesting, and when I first heard about it, I was pretty excited, especially coming from the LG V10. But I believe Samsung missed a boat on this one. Why not include notification icons?
Yeah, that's what bugs me too. The only icons you'll find here are the missed call icon and maybe the mail icon if you use Samsung's mail app, which, come on. I would love to see text message icons for third-party apps or Instagram notifications or anything really. That'd be a lot more useful, I think, but who knows? This does look like it's capable of being updated, so we'll see what the future holds.
But overall, this phone's display is awesome, from the quality itself to the features thrown in. So let's talk about how powerful this phone is. We have the new Snapdragon 820 processor, depending on where you're buying the phone from, an Adreno 530 GPU, and 4 gigs of RAM. On paper, that's a monster setup, and we should expect great performance, and that's exactly what we get, although this can make for the phone getting a little hot sometimes. Apps open very fast, jumping in and out of settings menus is very responsive, the recent app screen is quick to open, and you can dive in and out of apps here with ease. Gaming is super smooth too. I'd say the S7 is the best Android phone for gaming at the moment. Games load fast and frame rates are high. The speed on this phone is very great no matter what you're doing, but software does play a huge role in this.
Yeah, and it's oftentimes the part of Samsung phones that Android users like the least. It's called TouchWiz, and it really does kind of get a bad rep, but here with the Galaxy S7, it's really not that bad. There's a lot of new animations here that help bring the phone's theme and feel together. The pull-down notification menu is designed pretty well, and this time it's a more neutral white and blue theme, rather than that crazy bright neon blue and green. The theme store is here though, so in case you do like those neon colors, you can get them back, or perhaps go with a more material design look. Samsung added a nice gaming feature called Game Tools that you can enable within settings, so when you're gaming, the capacitive buttons are disabled, so finally you can stop gripping Samsung phones awkwardly when gaming. And the recent app screen is designed a little bit more differently, allowing you to see more of the app, which is very nice.
Here you can trigger dual window mode, which is useful no matter how small your screen is, although it only works in certain apps. RAM management has been improved, it seems, although not perfect. For the most part, apps will remember where they were last left open, even if they were far back. But the first thing you're going to want to do is disable that briefing screen, which is just the laggiest thing. But really, the S7 software is really nice here, and in my 4 days of using the phone, I didn't even need to install any launchers. Of course, we have Samsung Pay, which is how all phones' payment systems should be in the future, I believe. If you're buying something at a place where you usually swipe your card, Samsung Pay will work. It's fast, it's secure, it's just amazing.
Speaking of amazing, let's get into the camera of the S7. We have less megapixels this time, 12 megapixels over last year's 16, and even though megapixels can be important, what's more important is the size of those megapixels, and the S7 has larger ones, which allows for a lot more light to come through. It also has a lower aperture of f1.7 to make photos even more bright, and of course we have optical image stabilization.
This is the best camera you can get in a smartphone, definitely. Now that's not saying some smartphone cameras are not better in other areas, because yes, there are some departments where the S7's camera is lacking compared to others. But it's the best all-in-one camera with the most natural representation. Colors are crazy vibrant, with images having a bit of post-processing sharpening going on, but just the right amount, I'd say, to create very crisp and clear images.
When looking at these pictures, you can tell that this is obviously a great camera. But in order to truly appreciate how good these photos are, you have to rank them up with other smartphone cameras. And that's exactly what we did. You can click the card in the right top hand corner of the screen, or click the link in the description to see our comparison between the S7, iPhone 6s Plus, and Nexus 6P, which we think are the three smartphones with the best cameras.
The big story is those larger megapixels and lower aperture. That in theory should create better low-light images. It's funny how Samsung used to flaunt that bigger megapixels were better, but this year they downgraded the sensor by 4 megapixels. That's how much they trust this setup in low-light situations, and it really does work a lot better. I did a comparison between the S7 and the Note 5 over on Android Authority, and really now instead of getting those smudgy purple looking photos, you get sharper photos with better colors and sharpness. You can even shoot in areas where you can barely see, and the S7's camera will bring out the details that you didn't even know were there.
One area of the camera that is a little bit disappointing is the front-facing 5 megapixel camera. It's still wide-angled and one of the most wide-angled front-facing cameras on a phone at the moment, which we love. It helps get a lot of the scene in the shot, and it's great for capturing a group photo. And in bright enough light, it has a good amount of detail, it's sharp, colors are good. So what's disappointing here? Well, it's when you try to take a selfie in anything but bright light. So even if you're indoors on a bright sunny day with the blinds up, the shot comes out very soft and details are lost. However, even with this being the case, thanks to the wide-angled lens, this is still one of my favorite front-facing cameras out there.
My favorite feature is how close you can get to objects with the camera staying in focus. And thanks to that low aperture, you have a nice bokeh effect in the background. Pro mode is available too, so you could get the perfect focus along with other things like ISO and white balance. You can record video up to 4K, and with optical image stabilization, video comes out smooth and beautiful looking. In fact, a lot of the shots you've been seeing throughout this review were filmed with the Galaxy S7's 4K camera. Overall, fantastic camera in many aspects, but be sure to check out our camera comparison shootout to get an idea of how it ranks up.
So that's our thoughts on the Galaxy S7. The question is though, is it worth the upgrade from the S6? So if you already have the S6, should you get the S7?
That's a tough one because it's not going to be a huge upgrade. You got a slightly better camera with low light. It's a pretty big
For me, that's a big upgrade.
for us. You got the SD card slot, you got a bigger battery, you got water resistance too. All those things combined,
The battery
the
part,
battery alone, yeah.
every S6 owner couldn't get through the day.
Bad. But yeah, all those things combined, I would say it would make a good reason for an upgrade. And of course, it's also faster and it has a few new features. So yeah, it's worth the upgrade.
We'd say it's worth the upgrade.
For sure.
Definitely.
I guess that's it. Thanks for watching as always. Follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. If you would like.
And me as well.
Follow him on those too if you would like.
Make sure you check out our S7 Edge review as well. As well
as our camera comparison.
Between the Nexus 6P and the iPhone 6S Plus.
And yeah, that is all. Subscribe if you want, please. And we'll see you guys later.
I'm done, bye.
Oh, what?